Entertainment news today. You're such a dragon gay. Everything sucks and it's no good. That comes out of Hollywood. But there's one place you can go to get all your news and info, and maybe even have a laugh or two. You know it's true. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark. All those bombs and flops, but MEAD never stops. We will keep going through the night as we keep up the culture fight. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark.
It's Tuesday. Welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark, your favorite show on the YouTubes, whether you like it or not. I'm Tom Connors. We got all 32 frickin' flavors of Nick Weiser in the his house. How you doing, Nick?
Hey, Tom. Good to see ya. Happy to be here. Hello to you, Professor Otto, and hello to our wonderful chat. Nice to see y'all, and hope you all had a great Memorial Day.
I don't know why you're Italian all of a sudden, but good to have you. We also have Professor R2. How you doing?
Hey, if he wants to be Italian, you let him be an Italian, okay? What's your problem?
Yeah, we're like a sitcom here already. How you doing, Professor R2?
I'm good, thanks. Good to be here.
Glad to have you. And we may have some more people joining us as we move along here, but we didn't want to waste your time because tonight on Toxic Tuesday, Nick is talking about a biggin. That's right, as D. Bud Martin points out here, Top Gun Maverick. And this is actually the day it came out. Did you know that?
Yeah, dude, it's kind of crazy how I got able to line up for it. Like, oh man, I'm like so happy that it really actually came together. And that wasn't even the intention. It was not the intention. I was doing it basing off of being close to a holiday. I did a poll a few months ago asking the audience, hey, should we stick with Memorial Day or should we do this for 4th of July? And it was a landslide vote for Memorial Day, and I went where the audience wanted it. So once again, I go where the market goes, and that's how they responded. And I said, okay, ask and we shall deliver. And then also I look into some extra stuff about the movie. I'm like, oh, whoa, what? Dude, I don't think I've actually ever done this before. I think maybe one other movie I've gotten the release date for. I think. Other than that, I don't think I've nailed it any other time.
Yeah. And let's see what you guys are talking about out there. We got Marks47 who says he's a member for 49 months. Thank you for that. Nicholas Horton's in the house, said, hail Midnight's Edge. The casting choice for Hermione might be a mistake, especially when it comes to the whole mudblood stuff and that, or if we complain about it, right? Well, we're going to get into that. And FKHC 2005 sends in $2 and sends some love in for Clobbering Times. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate the support here, and we miss Clobby. And yeah, so the top story of the day is the new Harry Potter cast. I'm not really a Harry Pothead, at least not the kind that reads the books or watches the movies about a bunch of kids who are wizards. But for those who are huge fans, this is big news as the cast has now been kind of filled out for the new upcoming HBO series, as we have the three main leads right here on the screen. The story goes, HBO Harry Potter TV series has officially found its Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Dominic McLaughlin will play the role of Harry Potter. Arabella Stanton as Hermione Granger, and Alastair Stout as Ron Weasley. More than 30,000 actors were auditioned for the lead roles since HBO launched an open casting call last fall. Filming is expected to begin this summer. I don't believe that, but okay. Hey, Price of what the
Hey, how's it going?
fuck is going on with your
Whoa,
Avatar.
you're not a fish with huge balls.
No, I'm kind of on the road now. I'm between one place to another, but I'm using hopefully better. I'm using these kind of earphones with a microphone, which hopefully is better than the previous one I used.
Either way, we're glad to have you.
Does it still sounds like I'm on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's fine.
So what's the traffic like there out on the 401?
Well, there is a lot of traffic now. It's the evening, but yeah.
We got a jackknife up here.
Is the volume low or high? Is there anything
No,
I
you're
can
fine.
do? I'm
You're fine.
Okay.
As long as we can understand you. We're just talking about the Harry Potter news.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So yeah, they claim they auditioned over 30,000 kids, and I said, yeah, right. But so yeah, they landed on these three, and to nobody's surprise, Hermione is not white. And of course, a lot of people are pointing that out, but a lot of people have already said that they're pretty much out of this already because of previous casting announcements. So yeah. Anyway, Price, you're new to the panel here. What's your feelings on this?
Well, my feeling is that there's worse things to complain about in terms of, back in the day, sometimes they used to swap something, and I don't think people made such a big deal about it. I think that over the past few years, because of all the swapping, people are just more sensitive now, and it's more on people's radar. And really, if the whole show would have been very respectful, I think that this one recasting or this swapping or whatever you want to call it, it wouldn't have been such a big deal. But because we already know that there's a kind of weird vibe that they're trying to swap a bunch of stuff, it just kind of draws attention to it.
Yeah, I can see that. What about you, R2?
Yeah, this is by no means the the worst thing that has happened so far in the casting of these characters. I don't see anything wrong with these three kids. I do get what was mentioned earlier in a super chat where they're saying that there could be some problems here with a character that is not white. Later on, there are words that are used in the stories to describe these characters. Mudblood is one of them that could be taken particularly. there's a lot of offense potentially there in that being used, given that the character is now being played by someone who is not white. We're also going to have problems with some of the other casting now that there's a black man who's playing Snape later on being hung from a tree by some other kids as a prank. That's going to be taken in a very different way now than it was before. So as far as the casting of these kids, they fine. I'm sure they're going to do a great job. I was already out on watching this show. I simply don't care about it anymore. So if they're going to start race baiting stuff, changing characters, whatever, no, thank you. I'm done. The only appeal of this over the films was that they were going to be more accurate. They were going to be, sticking closer to the books, and they've already shown that they're not going to do that. And so at this point, I'm out.
Yeah. Nick, what about you? I don't know if you're a fan at all.
My
little
children
younger.
are, but they aren't really paying attention to this type of news the way I guess you could say I do. But I remember hearing about how they said HBO people, how it was going to be, as Professor R2 said, more faithful to the books. And even though my only point of reference is the movies, I remember some of these characters at least, and I do appreciate the movies. I was like, oh wow, they already contradicted their own statements right off the bat. So they lied instantly. I wish they could have at least, be like, be douchitarian like Marvel. Say, you know what, we're going to change this because we just feel like we can't get our way to do that. Because they made it clear with Eternals that, hey, these are lesser characters that are not as well known. We feel like we can get away with changing these characters, and we made it our very intent to do that. So, no, as douchey as it was, at least they were honest. These guys said one thing, and they gave you another, and we haven't even begun principal photography back. So, I don't care to watch the show. I'm going to hear some really, really, really exceptional shit out of this for me to even consider it as a thought. So, I'm not interested, and that's fine because I have other shit to look forward to.
Well, considering the amount of hate that JK gets for her stance on trans rights or whatever, or she's a TERF or however you want to put it, I think she'll win a lot of those people back with some of this casting, even though she's tried to like say she's not in charge of it, but she wouldn't change it if she could, I think was her response. Because, yeah, she signed off on this already in the past, so...
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I don't know that she's going to win anyone back. These people, they have one particular view, and if you are not 110% on their side, there's absolutely nothing that you can do to change it unless she's going to change her views, unless she's not going to be a trans exclusionary feminist anymore. Then she's not going to win anyone back. So any of this, this race woke casting, whatever, it's not going to help a thing.
not only that, I think Tom, you've said it a number of times before, is that with the exception of this whole transformer issue, she's actually very woke. Probably she would love all the woke stuff in the world except for that one thing, and that's the reason why they wanted to cancel her. But it's not like if her and us sat down for a beer now, we may not see eye to eye about a lot of stuff.
Oh, no, and that's kind of what I've been saying. Yeah, as you pointed out. Like, I have zero horses in this race. I was way too old by the time it came out. My kid was never into it, so it was never a thing for me.
Yeah, it's not my biggest thing either. It's not like, I'm not going to lose any sleep over this one, but I'm trying to look at it from the lens of people that would lose sleep. And I will say that I think that this young lady that they chose as this actress for this role, I don't think that's the biggest issue. If this show was going to do everything great, and that's the one thing that some people may say, oh, it's not so accurate or whatever, I don't think that would be a big issue. But I think that there's going to be a lot of weird stuff in here and a lot of things that are going to be for a modern audience. And I suppose it's probably going to annoy a lot of people on that level.
Do you guys think they will deviate from the books at all?
Well, they already have. What's to stop them from doing it even more? So, as Price pointed out, she's a hardcore leftist, no question about it. It's just this one particular issue where she's deviated. So, more race centric casting, more changes to the storyline to include more of that leftist, maybe even Marxist level stuff. Who knows, right? Bound to be more characters that are retroactively some sort of made homosexuals or bisexuals or whatever. That's going to be.
So how
in there,
gay is
guaranteed.
Harry going to be?
Yeah, exactly.
No, actually, the gay one will probably be what's his face here.
Instead of the romance
Redhead.
between Ron and Hermione, the will they won't they. It's going to be Ron and Harry.
Somebody's Heine is more like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mikey, what are you doing in the chat, not on the panel? His Mexican Iron Man for 48-month member chat says. This casting sucks. We need to make sure we can cast the amazing Pedro Pascal. He can play Hermione.
Oh, yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, makes it time for our Pedro Gaydro break. I'm gonna lick the stick. I'm gonna lick the stick. Then I'm gonna put it in my butt. Put it in my butt. Put it in my butt. See, the audience loves this clip. They just love it. It's their favorite. They want me to play. See, he wants me to play it like 19 more times. See? 19 more times. Gaydro Rainbow Pascal. That's right. That is right. All right. So, yeah, I don't really have much more to say on this. Because, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think the Snape casting is probably the bigger problem overall and causing the most stir. And the most I'm seeing online where people are like, yeah, I already checked out with that, so I don't care. Because a lot of people are saying the same thing you guys are saying, and that is that it could be worse, but it's already broken, right? So who cares at this point? I feel sorry for the kids, I guess. I mean, they probably won't care at the end of the day, so if they don't, then whatever, it doesn't matter. So it's not my franchise. What do you guys say out there in the chat, though? Let me know your feelings on that. In the meantime, we did get some casting rumors for Marvel. One particular started off yesterday with Mark Ruffalo coming back as the Incredible Hulk, or maybe even the Savage Hulk. What happened to you're now a trash can, Professor R2, like literally.
Well, you know.
Because you kind of match my trash can.
Yeah.
You mentioned Mark Ruffalo, so he became a trash can.
I see that. But for those who think I'm kidding, I actually have an R2-D2 trash can. Yeah. So yeah, Mark Ruffalo could be coming back as the Hulk or the Savage Hulk. And this is basically the response everybody gave online.
I mean,
Mark Ruffalo coming back.
Oh, who cares?
Right. I mean, I've never really liked him. I somehow tolerated him as the Hulk. I thought he was fine, I guess. He never really convinced me that he's smart, which is a problem because Banner has to be smart. And at this point, I don't even care.
He's too much of a hippy dippy motherfucker. You're right.
No, I mean the thing is, if you
call it Price.
Sorry, no, you go ahead, Nick.
Okay, fine. Tom and I spoke about this briefly before the show. I said I actually enjoyed him in the very first Avengers, and a little bit less in the second. If he had stopped right there, we would have said, "Oh, he's a shitty human being," but at least he was decent as the Hulk. But then Thor Ragnarok happened, and he has not been the Hulk anymore. He's been Mark Ruffalo. He doesn't play Bruce Banner. It's all Mark Ruffalo. And it's a character I don't recognize. I don't really care. I really don't care to go on about Mark Ruffalo being in a Spider-Man movie, and especially let alone one that's probably not going to be good from a guy who directed Soy-Chi.
Yeah, the Soy-Chi thing is a problem. I don't know how that guy became their go-to guy. But regarding Ruffalo, I agree with you, Nick. Initially in the Avengers, when I saw him in the first movie, I thought he was okay. Honestly, I didn't think that Edward Norton was the best fit. I know some people really liked him, and I didn't think Mark Ruffalo was necessarily the best fit. For me, Bill Bixby always and Lou Ferrigno, I feel like they're the best that have done it until now in live action. Even without all the CGI and all that stuff, I kind of like what was happening there more. But when it comes to Ruffalo, the reason why I don't think he looks smart is if you look at his face, if you look at his eyes, at the look he makes, you could tell that he's stupid. You know what I'm saying?
He looks like a Neanderthal, yes.
There's nothing going on behind those eyes.
No, and I'm not saying it just to be mean, because we know that he's kind of an annoying human being. I actually really take a picture of him and look in his eyes, and you'll see what I mean.
It's so
he
weird
looks like a
see.
Neanderthal. Yeah,
it's so weird to see how he looked more I guess he looked definitely more like a gangbanger in a movie like Collateral, and then you see him now, and you're like, wow, who put all that skinny soy gluten-free vegan latte into his drink? because he soyed up hard in the last 20 years. He really did. Like, believe it or not, like he may have always been crazy, but sure he didn't look like a fucking fruitcake, at least way back then. Whether he was always like that is a story we'll probably never know. But man, he definitely fell off the log. Even the same thing with Pass Holt too. I saw a photo of him a few days ago from 20 years ago. I didn't recognize him. I was like, wow, he looks like a dude. And then also I was told that it was Pedro Pascal. I was like, what? Yeah, I'll have to dig for it. But yeah, sometimes, you don't believe your own eyes and you're like, oh,
Well, I
yeah,
learned
that's him.
a little bit about his family last night. Do you know why he had to immigrate?
No, I don't. I actually
Because his
don't.
daddy was a fucking his dad got himself in trouble with his partner. They were like defrauding a company and stealing like women's eggs and shit. It was this crazy fucking mess, I guess. That's why they had to immigrate. So when he talks about his immigration story, that's the where it all started. Sorry.
And his dad fled the U.S. again, or fled the U.S. later on to go back to Chile after he was embroiled in a crazy scandal over here where he was a fertility doctor.
That's what I was talking about.
And his over here in the U.S. His group was involved in all sorts of stuff like swapping embryos in an IVF situation and stuff. So yeah, while that was ongoing, he fled the U.S. to go back. So
it sounds like
went to like Argentina or something like that at one point, I think, or something or other. But I don't know the whole story, but yeah.
It sounds like that movie with Vince Vaughn, where it turns out that his sperm was given to a lot of children, and then there's a bunch of Vince Vaughns. I feel like I'm not saying that that's what Pedro Pascal's father did, but
the upside
maybe.
is Pedro can play his dad in the movie, I guess. Because it's crazy story. Like I don't even know the whole thing. I just learned a little bit about it last night. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, this sounds like a crazy fucking weird Lifetime movie or some shit. Like,
yeah, it's messed up.
And Pedro's brother can play his sister.
Yep.
But other than that, we got other news. I guess I will say this about Hulk. I want to say I don't understand. I mean, I get it as a personal preference, maybe, but I always liked Edward Norton as Hulk, and I felt he kind of evoked the closest to Bill Bixby than anybody else, both look-wise and character-wise, because he had that obsession that Bill Bixby had, and he had that thing there where he couldn't help but help people. Right. Go ahead. Sorry, R2.
Yeah, no. You felt the emotional. You felt him on an emotional level, where he could play that. Where you don't have that with Mark Ruffalo. I still don't understand them bringing him in as a villain in a Spider-Man movie. Are they going to nerf the Hulk in the MCU now?
I don't know,
but
here's where I
more
bring
so.
Norton back because he'd be great as a villain.
I think it's going to be more of like it would be a fight scene where they fight and Hulk goes crazy. Forbidden Spider-Man needs to undo it, and then he'd be back to normal.
And Spider-Man talks him
He's not
down.
going to be the main villain of the movie.
No, I'm hearing the main villain's going to be Scorpion, I heard.
I've heard that
I don't know how reliable that is, but...
I'd see, in the ideal world, I should be looking for that. Scorpion is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. That would be something in a ideal world. I'd be like, bro, like, I'm going to sleep in front of the theater for that type of movie. But don't care.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
We're gonna get another character talking down a Hulk, just one more time, right?
Sun's getting low, big guy.
Sun's getting low. Hey, yeah, he's
whatever.
Spider-Man's gonna talk him off the ledge.
My face.
I'm looking for nobody. So.
Yeah. That to me.
Fun.
I'm starting to scratch my head going with this Spider-Man movie going. Is we're going to get one good Spider-Man, 1.5 good Spider-Man movies out of this whole thing or what? Because I'm one of the few people who stuck up for Homecoming. Because I didn't hate it. Because everybody's like, I hate it. It's all nothing but Iron Boy and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you kidding me? The entire fucking movie is about him being able to show that he can be a hero without the Tony Stark suit tech. Like the second film, oh yeah, clearly that whole movie is a 2-hour fucking funeral for Tony Stark. Like that movie sucks. Because that's all it is, oh, woe is me, I miss Tony. Oh shit, here's Mysterio, and this ending sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, look, at this point, I'm really kind of losing faith in the fourth Spider-Man movie. So anybody who thought that this was going to be a Spider-Man Raoul Spider-Verse movie, I was always kind of reluctant to. I'm like, look, this is probably the last time we are ever going to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield play Spider-Man again. I've been telling, I mean, I
Well,
I
they'll
told
be
people
in
that
Secret
then.
Wars. You know they'll be in
I
Secret
will
Wars.
see maybe for like a quick cameo, like where you have all the Spider-Men together again, maybe. But even then, I don't know. I think that was it. I think that was a one and done. They're never going to be able to pull that off again, but we'll see. That there is related news. We also got news that supposedly, and this comes from My Time to Shine, I guess, is the initial source of this. So definitely take this one with a huge grain of salt. Because I think Screen Rant put out the one yesterday about Mark Ruffalo, if I remember correctly. But they're looking at Bryan Cranston to play fucking Professor X. What the fuck? I'm so tired of this. Just because he shaved his head bald for Breaking Bad does not mean he needs to play every bald guy in movies. Jesus Christ. Guess what? Everybody can shave their head bald. And I don't know about you, but I've seen Bryan Cranston outside of anything else in movies, and he's pretty fucking stupid. I don't think I can buy him as Professor X. And not only that, you already had a perfectly good one at home already. Like, come on. What the fuck? So, Nick, or R2, whoever wants to start with this price, whichever one wants to dive in first. Breaking Bald.
I think that he's a good actor. Like, I think that Bryan Cranston is a really good actor, but
yeah,
it's not
Professor X.
It's not a natural fit for me. I actually think that in some variation, he could have probably been a better Lex Luthor than Professor X if they would have gone that route at some point. And I know you said because he's bald or whatever, but he is a good actor. I mean, I think he could do it. When it comes to Professor X, he doesn't give me a Professor X vibe. It's just I'm not feeling that casting, if that makes sense.
He's a TV actor.
No, I mean, I think he's a really good actor. I don't think he's a bad actor. It's not that I don't think he should be in a movie or he can't appear in a movie role or a character role. I'm sure in my opinion, I think he could do a good job. But specifically, Professor X, it's not like a shoe-in. It's not something that I look at him and think, of course he's Professor X. I don't really feel that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like, and you already had what's his face from First Class. I just forgot his name.
Yeah, James McAvoy.
James McAvoy. He was fine.
That's what I was just talking about. I'm like, that's what I meant. We already got one at home.
Yeah,
like,
and he's fine.
He's fine.
I never had a problem with him playing that part.
Neither did I.
He's getting a little older now anyway, so he'd be a bit more age appropriate for the role.
Sure.
So
Read by Nature hit on a really good run. Mark Strong, I would love if that actually happened. I think Mark Strong is a very underrated actor.
I think a bunch of other people brought him up when people were talking about because that's just it. Yeah, Bryan Cranston can play certain types of roles, but like, look, outside of the badass that he is in Breaking Bad or the dad in fucking Malcolm in the Middle, I don't really see him going too much different. Like even him in Godzilla, he's basically kind of like a serious version of the dad in Malcolm in the Middle, really, just smarter. You know what I mean? And he's not even like smart, like, because he can't convince anybody of what's going on, right? Even though a bunch of people know about it already. It's kind of weird once you get into the Monarch shows and everything else around it. It's like, boy, that was really stupid how they made him out to be. But anyway, like, look, I'm not trying to dump on the actor. He's fine. But it's just would not be my first choice for Professor X. Hell, Nicholas Hoult, and I'm not trying to even play this game with the whole just because he's playing Lex Luthor. He looks like Professor X bald.
He was also Young Beast too, and the
Mm-hmm.
No, Nicholas Hoult. I could definitely say Nicholas Hoult as an Xavier, a good young Xavier.
You need somebody with good
actually
eyebrows.
like
Like, that's part of it, and that's where Nicholas Hoult comes in because it's not so much that anybody can be bald. Right? Yes, they have a certain kind of portion to their head or proportion to their head or whatever. But there's something more about with Professor X. It's almost like in the eyebrows, right? You got to have a specific look to the eyebrows, and Nicholas Hoult has that. Even Michael Keaton had that back in the day. I mean, cause obviously he's just not the right guy for it, but I mean, you know what I mean by the eyes, right? Like he has something about it that you can see it through the characterization. But yeah, I don't know. This is wouldn't be my choice, and it's a rumor anyway. So
yeah. Who hasn't been rumored to be playing something in in Doomsday or one of in the MCU recently, right?
Me as Professor X.
There you go.
I'd be a very bad Professor X.
Yeah, you would go off from Bat Tom to Nicolas Cage.
Hey, you kids, go get me some fucking pizza. Daddy X is stoned. Can't drive.
That would be kind of funny, though.
Papa wants pizza.
No, I wanted to see it. Tom Connors as Professor X.
I really can walk. I'm just fat. I don't want to get up. I'd be using the Jedi mind trick on everybody. These are not the droids you're looking for. These aren't the droids we're looking for.
Seriously, it'd be a lot of fun.
Pee your pants and forget your name. Who the fuck am I? Why did I pee my pants? Oh Lord. I'd be so bad. I'd be so bad. I don't know if I'd be good as Magneto. Everybody's like, Tom should be. Why?
No, I don't want that one. I don't want Tom as Magneto.
I'd be like constantly bitching
so
that everything
fun.
sticks to me and can't open a can. It's a mess. This came across the news here. This is a little odd and out of left field. But a stunt performer is suing Kevin Costner in Horizon 2. This movie just can't catch a break. It hasn't even come out.
Man, what isn't this movie going through?
So I guess evidently this Devin Labella claims that she was in a how do we put this? Assault scene that didn't have a coordinator on set. Okay. And she claims that it should have been in her contract since it was in the original actress's contract who she was doubling for. So this is going to go to court, it sounds like. I don't know if you guys have any feelings on this, if you've up to speed with it at all. There's not a whole lot of information in the story itself other than what I basically said. Until we actually get to the court case, I don't know if we're going to get much other than that. But yeah.
I don't want to sound insensitive here, but I mean, she's an actress. She didn't know what the role was. This was something that like she didn't know what would be there, and then
that's not the case. Like that's the weird thing because like you Read by Nature pointed out here and define unscripted, right? Because here's the thing: it sounds like it was part of the story because even if the other actress already knew about it and had it in her contract, then why is it? I mean, I guess it's. And here's the thing: is I would think it would be more on the stunt coordinator. But I could be wrong. I mean, and then again, it could fall also on the director and the second unit director, in which case it would be Kevin Costner and whoever else. So, I mean, look, it's a dicey situation because she claims that she felt vulnerable and exposed and all these other things. Look, and she's claiming a lot of feelings, but I'm sure anybody would feel that after that kind of a situation. But that's also why they usually have coordinators and other people on there. So I guess she may have a point here.
It's like that movie with Marlon Brando and the butter in Paris.
Sort of, but I read up on that after the fact and found out that that was blown way out of proportion.
Oh, of course. I think that I think that over the years they really wanted to make the lady from that movie like a big victim. I think that also they did this after she herself passed away, and it's like they rewrote the whole quote unquote mythology of it. And then that's why you had people like Chris Evans saying that he no longer looks at Marlon Brando the same way. Okay, and then after that, he shared a picture of his penis. Sorry, what do you want to say, Nick?
What is the intimacy coordinator? This sounds like a really fake job.
Oh, it's the most incredible grift in Hollywood in in decades. You literally show up and you tell the people who are involved in a sex scene or whatever. You sit with them and ask them about their feelings and how they feel about
Oh,
it.
what the
And
fuck?
then if there's going to be two people involved in the intimate scene, then you sit down and you talk with them about how the scene is going to go, and you work out who's going to touch who and when, and make sure that there's affirmative consent between the people who are there. It's the biggest grift you can
Right.
imagine.
I
I'm
don't
trying to
give
give
a
the
shit
look.
if I sound insensitive. This is fucking bullshit. This is the
Well,
fakest
I'm
job
trying to
on
be-
the damn planet.
I'm
Oh.
trying to be somewhat sensitive, at least to the woman who claims to be a victim here. But I mean, even it says here, this is kind of where it starts to fall apart a little bit. She is suing Costner and the film's production companies for sexual discrimination, harassment, and the creation of a hostile work environment. Moreover, the complaint alleges that LaBella faced retaliation after she reported the incident by not being called back for some sweet. Why would this is where I think people are supposed to, although they're supposed to technically say that, I guess their lawyers will tell them to say this, but like at this point, it just makes it sound like you're pissy you didn't get more work, so you came up with a reason to get back at them. Right? See, that's the problem I have here with that. But she goes, on that day I was left exposed, unprotected, and deeply betrayed by a system that promoted safety and professionalism, LaBelle said in a statement, The Hollywood Reporter. What happened to me shattered my trust and forever changed how I will move through this industry. Okay.
She sounds very delicate.
I mean, nobody attacked her. This is just a matter of like expectations or something. And at the end of the day, if I don't know what needs to be in the contract, maybe she needs a different lawyer. You know what I mean? I don't really even understand what the issue is here personally. But
Costner's lawyer shot back with this. That Costner always wants to make sure that everyone is comfortable working on his films and takes safety on the set very seriously. He says, however, that the lawsuit has absolutely no merit and is completely contradicted by LaBelle's own actions and the facts. So there you go. So this might come up in the legal battle. We'll see.
I think that in some cases, somebody like this lady that's suing hopes that it'll be such bad PR that between whoever is distributing, I don't know if he has a deal with Netflix, he himself and his own image, they'll just say, okay, let's just give her some kind of check and she'll go away. That's what I think they're hoping here, because this doesn't sound like some, to me, big crime or anything.
Yeah, that statement sounds like it's been very carefully worded and blown out of proportion for what actually happened. Now, if this were a completely unscripted scene, like she came to set having no idea, and on the day, whoever was directing the scene said, you know what, why don't you assault her, do that, we'll catch it. Like if that were the case, she's got something to say. If this were scripted, if this was in the contract for other people, whatever, like if it was known that was going to be part of what was going on, then I don't understand.
Right, and that's where
how
I
she's
say
got a
it should be
case.
the stunt coordinator or whatever's fault then. And that's the way she keeps making it sound to me, is like that's the person she should be going after. But anyway, here it says, it goes on, everything went by the book for a scripted assault scene that shot on May 1st. According to the scene where LaBella performed, I would believe this would be May 1st of 2024, because they're already in the midst of shooting part 2 or 3 of this. So just to be clear, according to the scene where LaBella performed the more physical rough aspects of the action was detailed on the day's call sheet, rehearsed with stunt coordinator and intimacy coordinator, later monitored by intimacy coordinator, took place on a closed set, and was structured such that performers got breaks in between shot. But rules were allegedly thrown out the window the next day when LaBella showed up on the set to double for 2 non-intimate sequences and was asked by Costner to stand in for Hunt for a shot. Unbeknownst to LaBella, the complaint claims Hunt had just walked off the set visibly upset after Costner told her that he had just added an impromptu scene of sexual violence perpetuated by a different character than the previous day's scene. LaBelle instructed to lay down on a wagon, allegedly only found out that this was the scene after Costner called for actor Roger Evans to simulate non-consensual sex on top of her. Mr. Ivins violently rustled Miss LaBella's skirt up as if trying to penetrate against her will, while pinning her down per director's orders. The complaint states, no notice had been given, the scene had not been rehearsed, no intimacy. This I call bullshit on. And I hope Paulie pops in here, because to be able to set up a shot, this is kind of where the whole thing with Rust went off, right? Why they were in the midst of rehearsing a shot. They weren't even shooting film, right? They were just blocking the scene, right? She can't tell me this shit. I'm sorry, I don't buy this one little bit, because there are so many people on set, so many people that at one point, if she even just said, no, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right, or stop, hold up, they would have stopped, right? This is...
She ruined the take. She ruined the take if she says, hey, what is this? I didn't know you were going to do this.
So what if she ruins the take? At that point, you have a case, right? There's the take where she says, hold up, I didn't sign up for this.
Right. Right. If she would have said that, done. They can't continue to film because she ruined the take. And in any case, I really find it hard to believe that everybody, like you've said, even from whatever experience I have, it's not a situation that nobody knows what's going on and she just arrives and like impromptu, kind of like an improv, they just do this kind of scene with her that they assault her. I don't believe it.
Yeah, like Davina says, hold up, something ain't right. Yeah. And like I said, the movie's done. They already showed this movie at, what was it, Cannes, I think it was, recently. One of the more recent things. I mean, it's done and over with. They're already in the midst of shooting 3, so. And I don't know what she expects to get out of this. Like, what this is, I think she's a civil suit, so I think she wants money.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's exactly
that's usually
before.
What they want.
She wants a settlement. She wants somebody to pay up so she stops talking about it.
I almost feel like it would be good if they didn't settle with her, because I think that if they settle with her, now every time there's any kind of scene for anything, they'll try to replicate this same strategy. And at the end, they're not even going to be able to make movies anymore.
And according to the stunt coordinator, she was in good spirits and made no complaints to them. At a dinner the night after the scene, he says that LaBelle took stunt coordinator Wade Allen to thank you dinner following the production and sent him a text stating, thank you for these wonderful weeks. Sounds to me like she was just pissed that she wasn't brought back. And the lawsuit alleges that her career came to abrupt halt after the incident. Not only was Allen not hiring her again, but the workplace and stunt work in general, which was one of the source of... So it sounds like to me that it's the people you work for the stunt company don't believe you either, or don't agree with you or the situation. I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to say that something wasn't bad necessarily, but I have a hard time. Because I'll be honest with you guys, we were going to do a story about Bryan Singer a while back with the whole Queen thing when that movie came out. And we killed the story because so many people kept telling us that not only that, the original story that it was brought to by the people was just like a lot of trust me bro shit. And certain things just weren't adding up, but I did some checking around, and I actually happened to talk to somebody who was on the set the day that they shot one of those scenes in that the movie that he's accused of with the kids in the shower or whatever. And they said flat out, like, that when you shoot these movies, it's not glamorous in the way that you think it is, right? Like, there's dozens of people, if not more than that, on a set. You're not left alone with like a bunch of boys or anything like that in a small isolated area. It wasn't like Brian was just there with a couple of guys and that was it, right? You know, it was a whole production, and these guys were fully clothed below the waist or whatever it was, and all this other stuff this person said, and no shenanigans went on whatsoever, according to them. So we killed the story because there were just not enough to go on with it. And that's kind of what it sounds like here. Is it sounds like this lady's just kind of making up a lot of stuff to try and have a case. at the end of the day because she got pissed she didn't get hired again. And she's probably a pain in the ass to work with, so the company she was working for didn't bring her back ever again for any other projects. I could be wrong. Maybe some other evidence will come out, but what do you guys think? What does it sound? Does that kind of sound like the case to you guys?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Seconded.
Yep. Even on a closed set, there would have been a dozen people who all knew what was there and what was going on.
Right, because you're right. Like,
So-
even when they do some of these more intimate type scenes, they usually don't let all the gawkers around, as you would say. Like, so they do have it to the very bare minimum of who needs to be there and whatnot. But even then, you're still talking dozens of people in some cases, right? Because you got all these lights, you got all this, that, and the other, the sound, if there's a special effect of any kind, or, you know, in this case, there was a stunt. So you had a whole stunt team probably on the set, right? Like, that's the way they were looking at it, is this was being treated as a stunt. And that's the other thing is that written in the, is that something that may not even be necessarily in the guild rules as far as an intimacy coordinator? Does it even extend to stunts? Has anybody ever fucking thought of that? Like, I mean, I'm not saying that if Kevin did this and was completely unannounced and that he's not in the wrong, but what I'm saying is I don't believe that she went into this scene. It was just like, oh, here you go. You're going to go do this scene now. Okay. And then all of a sudden she was thrown on the fucking wagon and, simulated sex violence, or however you want to put it, right? Without saying the R word. Like, I have a hard time believing that she didn't know that was what was going to happen, because they would have had to have the camera set up and everything. They would have had her stand in so they knew where she was at for all sorts of different reasons. Like, that's what I was getting at with the Russ situation. You don't just go in and say, okay, let's shoot a scene and then set up the camera and shoot. That's not how it fucking works. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I personally think that this lady is probably never going to work again. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but if you're a company, a stunt company, a production, or whatever, you see this, you're probably never going to hire her again.
Well, and Six is right. Like, I mean, again, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but there's more than enough probably evidence to support whoever's in the right or the wrong here. So, yeah. Or show us who's in the right or the wrong.
Her story doesn't line up. This story doesn't line up. And if I'm wrong, I have always admitted when I've eaten crow on shit. As of now, though, I said what I said. Everything about this reeks of absolute shit. So that's and then you find out about an intimacy coordinator, and you find out why we have Hollywood budget problems. Granted, that's a separate issue because of trash like that. We don't need this shit. And this is what Hollywood doesn't want to let go of. All these unnecessary jobs.
Also,
go ahead.
I was going to say, don't underestimate the MEAD jury, because Six was saying, oh, the MEAD jury has decided. We're a pretty good jury. That's all I'll say.
Well, we have Paulie here, who has actually a little bit of experience, or at least knowledge of this, and he can either back us up or correct us on some of the things we've been speculating upon here as far as what it's like on a set. How you doing, Paulie?
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
We
Loud
can.
and clear.
Loud and clear.
Yeah. Well, I kind of really agree with you guys. There's a couple of points here, though. I wanted to take a minute to read everything.
Sure.
Here's the thing, right? If she felt uncomfortable, in danger at all, she could literally call SAG. She could say, "Give me a second, fellas. I need a minute." She can go to her trailer. She can call a union rep right away. That's what this contract was set up for. That's what who she was covering for, doing the work for, demanded. It had stipulated in her contract that there would be an intimacy coordinator. This is a SAG union job. This is a union production. They don't fuck around with this stuff. They have zero tolerance for whether it's a kind of a racist joke on the set that's overheard by the wrong person or something like this. They, trust me, they shut shit down. They bring in legal. Everyone's interviewed right then and there. So that's kind of like a red flag right there for me, because she didn't do that. And it sounds like she's a professional. She's worked on many sets. And for her to say that, I was just completely caught off guard, and then to keep mentioning her fellow actor, that he's part of the blame. That's not cool. That's very unprofessional. It sounded like it broke down to pay her off. That broke down, and then she went, Time's Up Legal, and those guys are already bonkers, man. So there's that, but what I think is intimacy coordinators is not required by every film, and some actors use it, some actors don't. So I actually do think that there's some merit there, depending on the scene and the actors, the scenarios, that hey, let's block this, let's choreograph this, but also too closed set, only a small film crew. All that stuff has to be what's the word I'm looking for?
Taken into consideration, or
fine tooth comb. They don't fuck around with that stuff. So
yeah.
So
I mean, I'm looking this lady up. She has been in a ton of movies. You're not wrong about that.
And she's,
so I mean, she doesn't look like she's young, but she doesn't look like she's old either.
Well, and then she was in American Horror Stories. I mean, and here's another thing.
She looks like Lady Gaga. I can see
that. Nick had the biggest pushback against intimacy coordinators. Every set is different from each other. Every show, every film, that's why Rust, those guys got away with murder, because the way that set was run, it was poorly run. So I just don't believe Costner would have a poorly run set. That guy's super legit when it comes to his production.
That was kind of where I was looking to try and find her age.
As crazy as Costner may be, he does seem like the type of guy that maybe the crazy works to his advantage when it comes to being a professional. He must be like a zero tolerance type of guy. I believe that.
Well, he's made a lot of movies, right? And that was what I was going to get to too.
Oh, yeah,
he's been around the block. Like, he's probably been making movies before this chick was born.
But this is also kind of a hit piece against him. They're just trying to they're just trying to line up stuff. Oh well, he didn't get a loan. He didn't get this. It's like,
they're coming hardcore after him. And I know even Price and I have had our disagreements about the whole thing, with how he did what he did. But
But you know what? This is where I draw the line, Tom. The thing is, we can argue if he should have made this movie and left that other show, but having somebody accuse him of this kind of thing, that's a whole different situation. Meaning, even if he annoyed me at some point, he doesn't deserve to be dragged through the mud with this thing the way I think that this lady is dragging him. So even with our differences, I don't think that Kevin deserves this.
Well, in his personal life, I mean, I'm not going to say he's a saint. He's been through a few wives.
No, of course.
But I have never heard of any kind of accusation. And I'm not saying that he's being specifically accused of anything necessarily, outside of maybe the discrimination aspect.
Well, she's hoping. Sorry, go on.
I'm just saying, Price, you don't have a career like that if you're up to shenanigans on how you run your set.
That's what I'm getting at.
I agree.
The second, the third. I mean, how many films has Costner directed?
At least a dozen, maybe, I think, altogether.
True.
I mean, yeah. So,
maybe not that many, but close to it. Yeah.
But also too, right? Again, it goes back to that professional's actions. What did she do in the moment? In the moment, if she's like, "This is too much," if this was the case, she's empowered, man. It's not like, "Hey, come and do this." No one will know. No, it's
the seedier shit happens behind closed doors usually.
Correct. And she's been hired by homies before. It sounded like she was a little dramatic after the fact.
Yeah, the lawyers are saying that she was giving her stunt coordinator a thumbs up after this scene that she says was traumatic.
Yeah, we didn't even really get to that part.
Thumbs up and a dinner and a text.
Yeah, we got to that part. Yeah.
Oh, you haven't got there yet?
No, we did get to that specific part.
Okay.
But like, yeah, like as we got going through this, the less and less it sounded like she really had a case. And
But
now she is saying like she's being, not getting any work. I mean, she does have some upcoming work. Now, granted, it's done. Only a couple of them look like they might actually be feature films. The rest are like shorts and other things, so I can understand that. But as I was pointing out, maybe, I don't know if you heard or not before you got in here, and I don't know if you think this might be the case. It makes me wonder if maybe the stunt team that she used to work with has also ostracized her, because that's what it sounds like to me, is she done pissed them off too with this accusation because they don't believe it, is what it felt like to me.
Listen, the most important thing in this business is your reputation on set. Is how do you work on set? That's how you get more work. That's how you're referred. That's how you stay in the company, especially too, man. If you're like a certain type of a stunt person, you're gonna work a lot. So listen, if she's got a reputation, people just don't want to be bothered with that trouble.
Right. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that accidents don't happen. They clearly do. People have died. You had the famous accident where like, Uma Thurman was being pushed too far with that car in Kill Bill, and she had the accident.
Uma Thurman.
Yep. That's what I said. Yeah.
In Kill Bill.
Man, she brings it up like 20 years later. I mean, she's, Uma's in her own...
because there was a lawsuit, but I mean, at the time, it was just one of the, it was...
dude, she knows how fucking crazy QT is, but that...
Yeah, well, it was actually, I think it was Harvey who was found...
but Uma's crazy, too. That's the thing, too, is that no one's in it, come on. Uma's another,
and then, of course, there's the Vic Morrow situation we never want to forget. And so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that things don't happen and get out of hand on sets, but...
Right.
None of this is adding up, right? Like what you're saying, like... No. She could, and we brought that up too, and as Price pointed out, she could have ruined the scene and been like, time out, stop, this is not what I signed up for, at which point, like you said, she could have went to her, because they would have shut everything down for that shot, and then she'd like been like, I need 10 minutes, and she could have went to her trailer and called fucking SAG, or took her supervisor in, and
call your manager, you call her agent, you call someone that you trust, hey, this is happening, I thought we were already done with this yesterday. And now they want me. Okay, let's just say what they're saying is true. Now they want me to do this again. There's no intimacy coordinator. There's not, everything that was here yesterday was not in place today. I don't feel good about it. That is textbook professionalism 101. Is that you then sit your ass in your trailer, and you have your representation work it out with production. You don't get involved. You do not get involved. So she's there. There's too many options. She's got a lot of, and he or she, anyone, they have too many protections. The more this is a bigger budget SAG film, the more, trust me. So she had her team, she has her SAG representative, maybe a SAG representative on set, definitely someone you can call right then and there on the hotline. But yeah, man, so you're saying, well, I don't want to be a troublemaker, I'm just gonna go along to get along. Well, then if you're gonna go along to get along, then you're consenting, and everyone's there, everyone's filming, and it's not a pretty situation because of what you're filming, the subject matter. But you get through it, and you're professional, and everyone was thumbs up afterwards. It's like doing any high, a death-defying stunt. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're right, Paul. It just you're when you're saying all this, it's just kind of dawning on me. You know how we very rarely, if ever, never get these kind of lawsuits out of men? And I don't mean that because, men probably don't feel that way or anything like that. But what I'm saying is what you just said. She signed up for it. She knew it, and she was fine with everything until, and that's what it makes it sound like, until she wasn't brought back. And when she wasn't brought back, that's when all of a sudden she had an issue. See, now a man would just suck that up and be like, well, I fucked up.
And it's not to say that there's not leading men, film and TV that haven't been handsy.
Absolutely.
With their
and
guest
I'm not even
stars,
saying that.
With
I'm not saying that either.
Especially if they're in a position of power. We've come across some of them. Romy's come across some of them. That's part of the biz, But that being said, you deflect, and they get to know that, hey, you can't you literally can't fuck around with me like that.
Well,
Let's
Tom brings up
do-
a point that men are not usually taken advantage of by women that way. This is mostly true. But you got to remember how gay Hollywood is, first of all.
But
And a lot of the times when we do get a lot of these accusations come out, it's either gay advances and or somebody who's in a much older, more powerful position than the younger man. Right?
Positions of power on set.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And I know for a fact that position of power on set by women, they've done some nasty shit as well.
Oh yeah,
100%, bro.
But men are also more embarrassed by those things because then it seems like, see, for a man to be a victim like that, that's a big problem for them as a perceived man, because then you're seen as a victim or somebody. It's even harder for people to believe that you're a victim, right? See, that's the problem. So a lot of times guys just don't say anything about it.
Well, there's also verbal unprofessionalism,
right?
Verbally, I mean, all kinds.
Well,
of,
Kevin Spacey's getting accused of that all the time, right?
Don't look at a certain star in the eyes, even though you're co-starring in the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, usually that kind of stuff, from what I heard, is it's more of a stature thing. Like their co-stars can look at them or people above them, but if you're below them, then you can't. Yeah, that's what I've heard. But yeah, but you've been probably closer to that more than I ever have. But no, this will have to play out. We'll have to see how it works out, what kind of evidence comes out from it. As of this, on the surface level, though, it just doesn't sound like it's holding water to me. But we'll have to see. It just smells fishy. I don't know. But with that,
I hope they fight this and that they don't cave.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they are. From his lawyer made a lot of statements in that article. So sounds like that they're going to. But unless there was anything major you guys wanted to bring up to talk about, I don't know if there's really anything else for us to get into.
We just saw Final Destination Bloodlines. I loved it.
Did you like that? I've heard nothing but good things about it.
It got a little long towards the end. We're like, okay, wrap it up. But it was just so well done.
Yeah,
it was really well done.
I've heard mixed about Karate Kid. I'm getting ready to gearing up to see that in a couple days, hopefully.
Karate Kid, and then the new Conjuring looks excellent.
I never really got into those. I saw the first Annabelle. I thought it was okay, but yeah, my problem with them is I'm so familiar with the Warrens already that I know the movies are so full of shit. Yeah, like I don't know, man. I don't know how many things about them. Like, I mean, I get it. There is something to them, but like, it's just, I
just love a good movie where I have to cross myself for protection.
Now, if it was a totally different story and I was unfamiliar with the Warrens or something like that, it'd be a different situation. Like, even I'm like watching Annabelle going, I know that's not the real Annabelle doll, because the real Annabelle doll is a Raggedy Ann doll. Like, and that kind of, did you see the recent news that the Annabelle, the Raggedy Ann doll, the original one, is supposedly disappeared? I wonder if it's for a publicity stunt for the movie coming up. But
no, but trailers look good. Saw a bunch of trailers. Yeah. But they show too much shit in trailers, man. That's another thing that bugs me.
Oh yeah, as much as I'm excited about Nobody 2, I have not watched that trailer again since, because I want to forget as much of the movie as possible so I can go into it fresh, because that trailer gave away a lot.
Oh, the new Megan one. It's like, why don't you just tell the whole story?
Yeah, Megan. Well, we already know what this is. Megan 2. Megan 2 is basically going to be Terminator 2, it looks like. So
not only are the trailers giving away too much, but man, the previews, like the runtime of the previews have gotten worse. Now I remember I mentioned my times for a Working Man, Thunderbolts, and now and Nosferatu with Mission Impossible. Dude, 24 freaking minutes. 24 minutes. Are you kidding me? It's insane.
Okay, so Six sent me another version of this story for the Kevin Costner one here that's got a little bit more interesting.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so according to this,
because I'm just going off what that same article. Not
okay, so this is a 28-page complaint, I guess.
Yeah.
So this is from a 28-page complaint. So it
Uh-oh,
kind
the
of
worst
sums up a
spotted incoming.
similar thing that's in the other article. It says, having had nothing but professional and above the board experience so far on the film, LaBella took to task when she says Costner asked her to stand in for the departed Hunt to line up a shot. Then on a far from closed set, and with no intimacy coordinator, a modern underwear wearing LaBella, okay, was attacked by Roger Ivans' Burke character over and over as defendant Costner experimented with different takes of the action in the 28-page complaint. Okay. Not only did Costner seek different takes, but the Oscar winner seems to have wanted to increase the violence in the assault with little concern for LaBella, at least according to her friends. So this is putting Costner directly in the crosshairs.
That's bullshit.
She didn't stop it the first or second time.
Yep.
But I also too, it's like if that's I buy that he wants like, oh, I want more violence. I got a vision. I buy that, but he's gonna be hand in step, making sure his actors are good with it.
And
100%.
She's claiming, and her evidence with this is that with the whole why the costume underwear is a big deal is because, you know, obviously it would be period appropriate underwear she normally would be wearing for this kind of a scene. So that's part of her evidence in this claim.
That she didn't have the like a kind of a costume protection.
She was menstruating at the time too, like we really needed to know that.
Yeah. So she didn't have on period appropriate
Now
bloomers?
when I hear that, that just makes me feel like my thoughts aren't going to change anymore. I mean, unless I hear more that plays, to the side of convincing me, but this is not helping so far.
So this was not a closed set, which means
No.
there were dozens of people
Yes.
around.
Yeah.
And at any point, she's empowered to say, "Whoa, stop."
Yeah, the rest of the article is pretty much the same and pulls a lot of the same
But
stuff,
if that's also the case, I'm curious as to what was shot and recorded, because that's gonna help one side or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying before too. Is like a lot of and that's where Price and I were on the same page with. At any time, all she had to do is say, break character, and that kills the shot, right? So there's,
If let's say while they film this, if there's let's say footage of her saying, "Hey, I don't really want to do this," and Kevin Costner's like, "No, I'm forcing you to do it," then she has a case. But you know what? It doesn't line up with her complimenting them and sending thank you texts afterwards and cooperating and not saying one word. That doesn't go. That contrasts whatever she's complaining about now.
Well,
Yeah.
So she would have witnesses if Costner was belligerent to her
Mm-hmm.
and insensitive, right?
Yeah.
There would
Absolutely.
be tons of witnesses right there.
if they didn't even have the camera still rolling in between takes.
Well,
'Cause now with digital,
it's not a closed set though. That's what I'm saying. There's like more people there.
Yeah. There's
you
a ton of
have
people.
witnesses plus, like I was saying though, with digital now, because I know he shot him digitally. I'm pretty sure. You usually don't necessarily shut down the camera because you got hours of you just keep going.
No, yeah. If he's experimenting, then he's like you said. They even said like he didn't call cut. They just were kind of just riffing on the scenarios. Which, listen, that happens all the time, no matter what the scene is.
He was probably just getting mostly close-ups anyway, or like up from behind of the guy or something like that is what it was. I would imagine.
Making it sound like it's making it sound like everyone involved here, was up to no good, and
that's where
I got
kind
a
of
feeling that when she did those texts later in the thank you dinners, she probably at first saw like, oh, you know what, I think I overdid it on the set.
Perhaps
like complaining.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that just aren't lining up, and that's one of those things that really is like, it didn't seem like you had a problem until you didn't get a call back.
Yeah. This whole thing, I do not ever want an actor or an actress to feel like they've been taken advantage of on a set. That's terrible. Nobody wants that. The story just is not lining up. There's just something here that doesn't fit.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out as this goes on, and I'm curious to see the movie now beyond I already wanted to see it because I actually gave the first one a pretty good review. But we'll be able to see in the film what actually wound up in the movie and see if she may even have a reason to have a case, plus whatever comes out with the case. And we'll have to wait and find out. It could probably be close to a year before we find out, though. But it didn't even specify in there if or when there was going to be any court proceedings. So this was just the filing. It was a 28-page filing. The filing will probably come out in the next few days in full. But in the meantime, was there anything else you guys wanted to touch upon? And Paulie, is there anything going on in the news that we maybe didn't hit? I've been busy editing, so.
I was at the movie theaters. I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was busy editing, so yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we nailed everything we needed to nail. Paulie, since you popped in here late, check out Latino Slant. Anything you got coming up in the next day or so?
What's today? Today's Tuesday. You know, we're gonna have the actor next Monday live. I'm gonna have the actor Ignacio. God, what's his name? His last name is like his Italian name. He was in Lost in Space, Reboot. He was in Bones. An Argentinian actor, and he fantastic credits, and he started a foundation talking about men's mental health, and they're doing a concert and everything. So we're gonna have him on live next week to talk about his foundation, talk about his career, and Ignacio
Cerricio.
Thank you, Ignacio Cerricio. He's fantastic.
Sounds like a singer.
And he was in the Mule cleaning. He's a singer too. He was in a cleaning. He is. He's got a band.
I've seen the Mule. Of all the things you've mentioned, I know that I've seen that for
sure. He's got a big role there. Big role in a lot of. He's been around for a while. Anyways, we're excited to have him on and talk about his career and foundation. So get on over and
right.
subscribe to all our buddies here on this panel.
Sounds good. Neek, in about an hour, Top Gun.
That's right. Toxic
Take my breath
Tuesday,
away.
Top Gun, Maverick. Oh, we will be taking your breath away into the danger zone, playing volleyball on the 3-year anniversary of the theatrical release of Top Gun Maverick for Toxic Tuesday, and of course celebrating Memorial Day the day after as well. It's going to be a hugely great time tonight, so please come hang out with us. You know you want to. You don't got anything else better going on with your life. This is the place to be tonight. It's fun time to be here. Good for Paulie to slip and slide on in here. And yeah, thanks for having me, Tom. Good show as always, and I hope to see you all tonight. Thank you.
Nick will probably take his shirt off at some point.
Yeah, don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
Yeah.
I think I've only done it once on stream before.
He'll probably take it off during the football scene.
Oh,
R2, what do you got going on? I think you're going to be hanging out with Price at some point later, probably.
Yeah, I'll be joining Price as usual tonight for the Night Owl, 11:45 p.m. Eastern, talking about just whatever news of the day. Otherwise, feel free to follow me, Professor R2, on X.
Awesome sauce. And Price, of course, later on tonight. And anything else you want to plug?
No, that's it. We'll be on Price of Reason Live, which is the live stream channel, not the main channel. So if people aren't subscribed to the live stream channel, they should subscribe to that. And then, yeah, the Night Owl, 11:45 p.m. Eastern.
All right. Sounds good. With that, kids, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you on the morning show mañana. Sends in a late super chat to say, for $5, what does Paulie's Latino radar say about the Harry Potter casting? Paulie, what do you say about the Harry Potter casting?
What happened?
She sent in a last-minute super chat.
No, I know, but what happened?
Well, we got new cast. We got the kids and...
the kids, yeah.
Yeah.
The kids look cute. The kids look cute. Yeah.
There you go.
my Latino radar.
Available now for the first time ever on DVD from Midnight's Edge After Dark Productions. It's My Two Dads, the complete first season starring Mexican Iron Man Tom Connors and Culture Casino. Available now for $19.99. While supplies last.
That's disturbing.